Hi YouTube. Okay, so I am doing finally the actual hospital story of the birth of my twins. I left off on the first part of the call that I got the day before the C-section and what I was kind of doing. So, and kind of what happened from there. So, the night of the night before the C-section, everything was all very surreal. It finally, like, really kicked in that, oh my God, tomorrow our babies were gonna be born. And my husband called into his job and told them that they were going to be born tomorrow, so that he was going to start taking off and he wouldn't be able to go to work for a certain amount of time until he kind of figured things out and until we kind of got settled in. So that night I did some belly shots, and to finally really see what my belly looked like the day before they were born. And I just tried to relax. I tried to make sure my hospital bag had already been in the car, and the car seats had already been in the car for like 2 weeks. And so I was just finalizing like everything that was going into the hospital bag. So that was good, because I actually was like, okay, I have time. I know that they're not coming out, so let me review the the bags, make sure that I have everything. And we had to get up, the C-section was planned for 7:30 in the morning. And so we had to be at the hospital at 5:30. So we knew that it was going to be a really early morning, and so I wanted to make sure that everything was ready. So it was so surreal, because how do you go to sleep and try and sleep knowing that in a couple of hours you're going to be having 2 babies? And it was really surreal, and it was like freaking Christmas. Okay, I could not sleep, and the little bit of hours that I did sleep, I slept really bad, and I just couldn't sleep. But like, I remember us talking to them, and we were so excited. And that night I had called my friend and told her they're coming out tomorrow. And she's like, okay, I'm coming over with my mom, we're gonna clean your house a little bit. I was like, what do you mean you're gonna come over and clean my house? She's like, yeah, we wanted to do this like right before the babies come, like to help you out and just make sure that, you know, everything is clean. So we're gonna do some vacuuming, some dusting, whatever. And I was like, you guys are crazy, but whatever, come on over if you want. So they came over, and they even surprised me with a complete new bedding set. And it was so awesome. It was just like kind of like freshen everything up, like freshen the room up. And I started running the filters. I had already been running the air filter for a while, running the filter. I was finishing organizing their room. I was like, I had already been nesting and doing stuff for weeks. I couldn't stop. And like, people were just coming over to the house and like celebrating, and it was kind of crazy. Everyone was so excited. So I had everything ready, and we got up around 4:30. It takes about half an hour to get to the hospital. So we got up around 4 o'clock, and I mean, I was scared. I was terrified. Because like I said, I was terrified of the spinal tap and everything. And so around 4 o'clock we got up. We didn't really have much to prepare, because I had already pretty much done everything the night before. And we go and just start, you know, just taking another shower and getting changed into comfortable clothes. It was cold still. In the mornings, it was still in like the 50s, I think it was. It wasn't really, I mean, April was still cold, and even though it was towards the end of April, it was still cold. So, and I just remember finalizing some final touches. Like, I remember grabbing a blanket and saying, oh, I really like this baby blanket, and I'm gonna bring it. I ended up bringing I'll have to do a hospital bag video. I ended up bringing the boppy with me because I wasn't sure. I ended up bringing a pillow with me. I ended up There were a couple things that I didn't get that a lot of people normally get, but bring with them, and I didn't. But I did bring the diaper bag. I brought my bag. I brought the boppy. I brought a pillow, and that was it. And then we went off to the hospital, and it was just so surreal. I don't know another word to say it. It was just so surreal, like driving to the hospital and but relaxed the whole time. Like relaxed in the sense of most people are running to the hospital when you're already in labor, and I wasn't doing that. I was totally relaxed. And the only part that sucked is that, of course, I couldn't eat or drink anything before the surgery. So I had finished having something to eat at 11:30 the night before, and I had finished drinking water by midnight. I couldn't have any more liquids. So that was that. So I was starving when I got up. And I was starving on the way to the hospital, and I was starving when I was in the hospital, and that was the worst, because I was just hungry, and I wanted to eat, and I couldn't. And so I literally kept thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to eat real food, and when am I going to allow to have something to eat? And I couldn't. And so we got there on time. We parked wherever we needed to park. I got out. We took all the stuff out, and then my husband went back and I had to move the car. We parked fine, and we were on time. And so we get in, and they make us sit, and we're waiting. And I was freaking out. I was like, okay, what do we need to do? What do we, paperwork, everything. And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden we're sitting there, and we're sitting there, and we're sitting there. And I think it was almost half an hour, 45 minutes, but it felt like freaking forever that I was sitting in the waiting room. It wasn't even that they were getting me ready and I was waiting. I was still waiting in the waiting room. And then the lady and then as I got in, the lady was like, oh, hold on guys, I'm turning. As I got in there, a couple minutes later, I realized and I heard why I was not getting taken in yet. There was another emergency twin C-section that was literally happening when we basically got there. It was 10 minutes after we got there, some lady was being rolled in, and she needed to have an emergency C-section for her twins. But she was already, I think she was attempting labor, and so she was already in the maternity room, so I guess they just took her around through the back. I didn't actually see her, and she wasn't coming from out of her car, off the street or anything. She was already in the hospital and had to be taken in. So she went in, and then they finally took me into where I changed into a robe. So I didn't bring my own robe. I didn't buy any of that. They took me into this room, and I was and it had a hospital bed and it had everything. But it was a small room, and I had to get changed. And then this is apparently where they start doing all the preparation for the C-section. So they do the IV, they do the paperwork, they're on the computer, they're coming to check the babies. So there was an ultrasound to check the babies. They're putting the heart monitors on and everything. And I was super nervous about, and the doctors came in to talk to me about what my final questions or anything was. And I told them what I was most nervous about and everything. And when I told the nurse that I was so terrified of needles and I was terrified of the spinal tap, she started laughing and she said, oh, the spinal tap is not that bad. She's like, this is the most vivid thing I remember from that morning. She said, the IV is actually worse. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, the IV? I was like, there's no way. And I've had an IV before, but it was one of these small little butterfly IVs, like in this area. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be okay with the IV. I knew that I was going to have to get an injection for the IV. And I was okay with that. But then she's like, oh, the IV's worse. 5 minutes later, holy crap. They first tried to put it in on this part of my wrist, and I moved. And because it was horrible, and I could not believe how horrible it was. And I was screaming. I was crying. I was crying. I was a mess. And because I'm sitting here thinking, are you kidding me? Like, she's got to be joking around. She's got to be trying to make me feel better that this is worse than the spinal. And they had to take it out, and I had my eyes closed. I was like this, my eyes closed, crying, screaming. I was like, like literally, like real crying, and I was like, it was hysterical. It's hysterical now because I'm 30 years old, and here I am about to give birth to twins, and I'm crying for the freaking IV. It was ridiculous. So they then they couldn't get it in, and so but I didn't know what they were doing. I thought they were trying to get it back in or whatever. Then all of a sudden, like my head's this way and my eyes are closed, and I feel a pinch on this arm, and I'm like, what the? And I'm like screaming, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then they're like, they couldn't get it in on the other side. Now they have to try on the other side, and I was like, holy crap. And that thing really freaking hurt. And I was like, holy crap. And 30 seconds later, I feel it pinch on my other arm. I was like, now what are you guys doing? And I was like, I thought the IV was in already. And no, they had to pinch me 3 times to finally get this IV in. Like, I don't know what the deal was. It finally went in on this arm, above, a little higher. And I could not believe, like, how much that crap hurt. And once that was done, I was then sitting there in bed, and they tried to put the monitors, and they tried to look for them, and like, I think they couldn't find one of them very well, and whatever. So then they had the ultrasound techs come in. Like, 8 people. I'm not exaggerating. It was like 4 medical students, and then the rest of them were staff from the ultrasound people or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, 8 people just walked in to my room. And here I am in a robe on a bed looking a mess, and this huge freaking ass belly, and them like probing me with the ultrasound stick and everything, and them looking around for them. They found them, they looked fine, everything. So then I sat some more in bed, and finally then a friend of mine came in. She came to visit me before, and the same friend who had come the night before to help me like get my house like, you know, nesting properly. And she came and she finally found us and whatever. And that was awesome. Like, that made me feel a little bit better. And we're taking pictures the whole time, and that made me feel better. And then I mean, but every time I started thinking about what, like, why I was there so long, it's like, why is this taking forever? And and finally by 10 o'clock, I was like, why is this taking so long? I was like, this is supposed to happen at 7:30. And then the doctors told me that they had to do 2 more emergency C-sections before me. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm gonna cut this here and do part 2 in a couple of minutes. Because the next part should probably, I don't know how many parts it's going to be. Like, I have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to cut this here. Thanks, YouTube. Bye.